I'm zooming. I'm all black and white and just a tad bit fuzzy.
That's beautiful.
So awesome.
You definitely have that. You definitely have that aura about you. And then we're just going to start off by saying thank you, Mayor Karen Kong, for being the first guest on Chasing Laughter.
No problem. Glad to be here.
It's interesting for me. Like, I'm definitely nervous in this podcast just because of the expectations that I have for it. But starting off with the bang is rad.
It never hurts, does it?
It never does hurt. So you are the mayor of Bishop, California.
So yes, I in the beginning of my second term, I ran again in November. I first ran in 2020 and then again in November, and was thankful to get reelected. And the mayor stuff, sounds like a big deal, but we really just rotate. It's not like the mayor, like Karen Bass is mayor because she had to run for mayor.
Right.
So we just rotate every year.
And I was just going to say that, and it's only 2 years, right?
No, it's a 4-year term.
It's a 4-year term. So you can actually get stuff done.
Yes.
Because that's what I think when we were talking with Mayor Jose last time on BHOV, that was a question. It was like, is it only 2 years? Like, what can you accomplish in 2 years?
No, it's 4 years, which is great. And because it allows you to have some thoughts that are not just short term,
Right.
fixed thoughts,
Right.
which is never the way to go.
Right. And we did touch on some things, that considering the growth of the town when I was talking with Jose. And is there like, it really seems to me one of the biggest issues that Bishop has is it doesn't really have like an identifiable soul.
That's an interesting thing. I just had a conversation on Tuesday with someone about that very thing.
Right. It's like just looking out, because I can see Stone Cloud. Thank you for sponsoring us. That's my shop.
I know.
But like the Ben Franklin building is like kind of Art Deco, and then you're going into something with a wood front, and then another wood front, and another building in between. It's like there's no identifiable soul, and it really seemed that Lone Pine has got that soul, and that started with the improvements of the neon sign.
Sure. So one of the things that's interesting about the way that Bishop has grown, or not, as the case may be, is that the Bishop City Council used to, 10 years ago and earlier, used to be really just a reactive agency.
Okay.
Something went wrong and they fixed it.
Sure.
And they didn't really have the mindset of how do we want this place to look over the next, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of how this happened. Everything just built, and as long as they were building to code and to, all those things that are required by the state of California,
Right.
we didn't say, hey, do this color, hey, do this kind of sign.
Right.
We are in the process of working on that now.
Sure.
So in my first term, we worked on what's called the downtown specific plan.
Sure.
And in that downtown specific plan, besides making it available for people to go up another story downtown,
Important.
It also designated some colors and some signage materials and some, if you're going to build a building, this is what the outside should kind of look like, right? It gave the businesses, I think, 2 or 3 options of things so that they could do it however they wanted to do it, still within the parameters. And so the idea that we are working slowly at it, and that, when you're my age, it'll probably be all the
I am 47 years old.
Yeah, I'm 10 years older than you.
That's right. I always forget. You and sister are 10 years old.
Correct. And so, well, she's not that old yet. She's younger than me.
Okay, I was gonna say it's right there.
But so one of the things we were really working hard on, well, I say we, Anna from the planning department has been really working hard on making sure that all of our signs are within this new sign thing.
Oh, I know.
That, right? And so, yeah, you do know, because you had to change, your business had to change. And so
It did, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I see 2 signs from where I'm sitting that I had to change my signage, but theirs are still the same.
correct. And we are slowly working on that process, sending out letters, doing things. And so, like, for example, the Barbecue Bill signs was up forever, and I would be out here walking my dogs, and people would be like, let's walk down the street and go have burgers. And I'd just stop them and say, no.
Yes.
And so, those things are slowly taking effect and getting done. And so it will be uniform and feel eventually.
So one challenge obviously is new building, right? We don't have a whole lot of space for new buildings.
Correct.
The other question, so that's the challenge, and how many available spaces are there on Main Street to rebuild? I know there's remodel and we can see the empty ones now, but to rebuild, there's one down there at Old Momart. There's one.
Right, that's a DWP property.
And then,
So that's no.
right. And then there's the Y.
Correct.
But where else could somebody really build something?
Yeah, it's a darn good question.
There's not a
Right?
space.
There's not a space right now.
Until if DWP, like, in my vision of Bishop, the utopian vision of Bishop, like, I see the need, and we do have the need to expand. We're to a point to where there's not enough housing. There's a housing crisis in Bishop, right?
Absolutely.
And there's a ton of land out there, but it's owned by DWP.
Correct.
Right? So it just really seems that Bishop they need to release some of that land to develop. They just really kind of have to.
So what's really interesting is that several years ago, there was a state law passed that required municipalities to release for sale underutilized or unused properties.
Okay.
Okay. And so, and they did that, the state of California, because of the cross the board housing issue.
Right.
Right. You must, as a municipality, release places that are not currently being used for sale to build housing. And it hasn't happened much up here.
And it's a tricky thing because a lot of that land is being used by cattle, right?
So the perfect example is behind Caltrans.
Yes.
That property back there on the corner, when you turn around, is owned by Caltrans. And several years ago, we talked to Caltrans and said, hey, that would be a nice little place to have some housing.
Oh, dude.
And what has come out of that in the long term is that they're going to upgrade and build some more stuff for them back.
Oh, yeah, how DWP expanded. That makes
Correct.
sense.
And it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's useful for them. But we had went to them with this, hey, it's not being used. How about you releasing it for housing? And
like on
it happened.
Which would be the north side of 395, right? From the Y on, all of that pasture land. I see, we should have businesses and housing and most of that all the way over to Dixon. There would be in like a great thing for Bishop to do if there was businesses all the way. There was no, this part of Bishop and then the big five, you know what I mean? Just all the way, not up and down both sides, hopefully eventually, but it just needs to happen.
So what's interesting about it is that when you look at my scope of influence, right, the city of Bishop,
Yes,
only 2 square miles.
Yeah, it's wild.
And so, the idea that the county could see about working those issues out.
And that's a whole crazy thing because there's so many entities involved because Bishop is actually so small.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So there is a piece of property within really close to Bishop proper that the county owns outright. It's right across the street from Jack in the Box.
Okay.
Not the one. Now I'm going to get this wrong. It's either the one right up against Main Street or the next one back.
Okay.
And they have currently chosen not to sell that to developers. You'd have to ask them why.
Interesting.
And it would really be nice if we could, do that because my understanding is the lot is big enough to maybe put some townhomes or something, more family friendly rather than what the new stuff that's going to be going here.
So that was a great tangent and we got way off base and I love that. Now bringing that part of that conversation back first full circle, what is the motif that is designated for downtown new growth and what look are we moving towards in the future? Something a little more modern? Are we going to try to keep it rustic?
So it is not a motif. So like when they were redoing some of Main Street years ago, when you were in high school, they really pushed the Western motif a lot. Right. That is not what the downtown specific plan does. It says we want to have this color scheme and we want to have these sorts of products as opposed to a whole, theme.
Sure.
And it was easy for Lone Pine, not easy. I shouldn't say that.
Easy.
There was already a lot of places existing that had the neon. And so when they started that process, they were like, let's go with this.
Yeah. And it works. I've been down there, right in the fall on a Tuesday, and there was 100 people downtown.
Sure.
Just walking around.
And some of that has to do with Mount Whitney.
And it does for sure. And that's a crazy thing about Bishop is like, it doesn't really have an identity. You know what I mean? It just seems to be as they found a home for, specific people to come visit all the time. We were just kind of hodgepodge together where the tourism or the foot traffic kind of stops right down there. Not a whole lot of people because there's not a whole lot of things on the other side of Line Street South.
Right.
To walk to. Right.
And I will disagree a little bit that Bishop doesn't have a soul. I think that our people and the amount of caring that's in the town gives soul.
No, I'm sorry. Don't see. So that's not what I meant. I'm just saying, like, as far as when you come downtown and look, it's not like uniform.
For years, I think
Bishop has
they didn't really think about the idea of anything but more than a pass-through. How do we make a pass-through work for people who are going places? And
how do we make Bishop a destination?
Well, I think Tawny and the Chamber are really working hard to try to do that. One of the benefits of Mount Whitney is that it's Mount Whitney, right? It's well known. It's very easy to talk about. You don't have to say. You might have to say, where is Mount Whitney? But nobody that I've ever met doesn't know what Mount Whitney is, right? And so Bishop, on the other hand, has so many, and obviously the greater Bishop area has so many untold, unknown places that are spectacular to go and do stuff in, and people don't really recognize that when you look outside. And so Tawny's really working hard to get that message out.
Yeah.
I just think it takes time. Nothing happens as quickly as anyone wants it to.
Even me. Fully understand that. The rock climbing community is huge here.
Absolutely.
Right? So like that is, they're, year round, because we are fairly temperate here year round. We don't have a lot of precipitation or snowfall.
Even the stuff that was predicted today.
Yeah. But this is a toilet bowl, bro. The banana belt and the toilet bowl. All those storms just come to like this number show.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the climbers is that they did that themselves, right?
Right.
Climbers came, they experienced it, and they spread the word amongst their own population of people, right?
They're so mysterious. I try to tap into them.
Did you?
I do. No. It's a tough thing to do. So like with the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail people, it was very interesting easy for my business to tap into because you could do it through social media.
Yeah.
They have an app, a far out app. You create a point of interest. It takes care of itself.
And often, because we are one of the only places to stop,
yes,
that they can wash their clothes and shower.
Yep.
It's much easier. They stay for longer here.
But getting like there's the climbers are so nomadic, right? They don't like have like an app or a social media following, like a Facebook page for. They just don't do it.
Stephen Mahovey and I joke that we barely know any of the same people.
Yeah.
Because he knows that population, right, and I don't.
Yeah.
Just because that's not my thing.
Well, there was a meeting.
Yeah.
On Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And that meeting specifically, or the majority of that meeting, was dedicated toward what's going to happen in that old Kmart.
All of the meeting was dedicated.
All it was.
Yes, it was a specific meeting about the Taco Bell Kmart.
Was it an open meeting?
It was an open meeting. There were 50 plus people there.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I was happy with it, especially at 9:30 in the morning.
That's pretty gosh darn.
Right? That everyone, it felt like everyone who could come at that time came, which was great.
Yes. So,
what do you want to know?
Do we know, is there possibilities? We know the possibilities. Possibilities one is obviously for the housing, right? Is there anything like in the works that you can talk about?
Sure. So to be clear, Foothill Developers.
Yes.
Dave, one of the Foothill developer people, has had his eye on that Kmart property for probably 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
And he couldn't get anyone to sell to, and he couldn't. And what ended up happening was that the owner of the Kmart property currently is divesting a lot of his things from California,
sure.
Right? And so he was able to slip in to purchase, which is spectacular.
You're saying purchase the building?
Purchase the property and everything about it.
Okay. And has that happened?
He is about 30 days before escrow close.
Holy cow.
In Esper.
So there's a process that's happening it's moving forward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, sans something, crazy happening, it's going to happen. They will be a new owner of that property.
That is so fantastic. There's always the rumors that have floated around Bishop, and I don't know if it's to be true or not, but that Albertsons, which is the parent company of Vaughn's, was paying that rent
Mm-hmm.
just so they didn't have competition.
Yeah. So sadly, when Vaughn's came in and were like, we want to build this new place. Okay. They closed the Vaughn's down here and they closed the Kmart.
Right.
And they made a deal with the Kmart Corporation. Vaughn's did that that property would never have any sort of other food stuff. Like groceries, no Trader Joe's, no.
Now, is that like a memorandum? What would you call that? How can you make that legal?
Well, it is happening all over the state.
Dude.
And sadly, the city council at the time kind of just blinked and missed it. And I don't think they thought it would be vacant for 30 years, right? But I think I feel really lucky because for a long time there was that sign in the corner that was asking for sale, right? But the numbers were so astronomically crazy that nobody would do it.
Right.
And this owner that is selling really, truly he wanted to fill the building. He wanted something to happen there. It just wasn't ever, right? And then as the years continued to go on, the building got worse and worse and worse shape.
Right.
And so even if you wanted something
30
there,
years.
right,
Right.
even if you wanted something there, it would have been, astronomically expensive to repair the building.
Right.
So it wasn't, I don't believe it was possible to rent it out in that way.
Right. Right.
And so when he decided to bite the bullet and sell the property, I have to say it's pretty fabulous of him to be willing to do that because, he was getting astronomical rent from Vaughn's.
Oh, yeah. The numbers I heard was $28,000 a month.
Yeah, and I don't know what the numbers were, but they were a lot, right? And so, and a lot of money to do nothing is a pretty sweet deal, which is why no one has done anything for so many years. And so, and it's my understanding that Vaughn's had another 74 years on their lease that they had taken out with Kmart, right? And so, as part of this
It'd be 100-year empty building.
Yeah.
Get the F out of everywhere.
As part of this deal that they worked to sell the property, Vaughn's had to sign off and say, look at this. We're not doing any groceries. We'll sign off and let you buy the property, which is fabulous. I mean, beyond crazy.
So what is it going to be?
So, I want to be clear that we have seen sort of conceptual ideas of what it's going to be.
As you've seen on Facebook.
Right.
Yes.
They have not submitted plans to us yet because they can't technically do that until escrow has closed, right?
There are 3 options in those pictures.
So here's the way it is, right? You've got your Taco Bell.
Yep.
On the Main Street frontage.
Yep.
There are
Taco Bell.
Okay, so there are on the Main Street. So here's your driveway, right?
Okay.
On the Main Street frontage, there are 3 what they call QSRs, quick service restaurants.
Okay.
Right here with the kind of drive-throughs that go around the building.
So just for the viewers at home, and I know this is ridiculous. Thanks for sticking with us. This will be Main Street. Let's pretend this is Main Street and this is Taco Bell.
Okay, so Main Street is here, Taco Bell is here. This is Sierra Street, right? So the 3 buildings will go here, here, and here to where Yaney is.
Okay. And then this is the rest of the parking lot and the old building.
Correct. So the old building is getting torn down.
Holy cow.
Is that so exciting? The old building is getting torn down, and what they're proposing, and again, we haven't seen plans because that would be, not appropriate.
Sure.
But what they're planning are 100 one-bedroom apartments.
No, a lot of the people on the social medias being like, "Oh, it's going to be a closet." Do they have a square footage per apartment?
500.
Jesus, that's a closet.
Well, I mean, there was someone in town proposing 350 square foot.
That's I don't like that.
Okay. So the way that they described it on Tuesday at the meeting was that these are apartments for basically single workforce people or maybe a couple.
No, I get it.
And
It's starter apartment.
well, and I want you to think about this. Currently,
I know.
you do know. Tell me that.
I know where you're going with this. Please I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, stop. Currently, there are people living like they're college students still, right? Grown-ups with jobs having to share sinks in the bathroom and shower, time their showers out and those sorts of things.
Who did your nails?
Julia.
That's great.
Um, and the idea that those people will be able to move into this place and free those houses up for actual families. So I looked, because I knew I was coming here. I looked on Facebook and such last night, and currently there are 3 people actively looking for someone to rent a room in their house.
Right. Right.
From $1,600 to $1,800 for that room.
It's so just disgusting.
It is. And so this guy, if
It goes through.
if it goes the way it's supposed to go, the way he's planned it,
Right.
these apartments will be $1,500. So, think about the idea that you could have your own place and not have to worry about any of the rest of it for less than you're paying for a room that you're sharing with a bunch of other people.
Right. No, that's so true.
And so they might be small,
But
and I am dimensionally challenged, so I don't really have a picture of what these look like.
right.
And I should have brought it, I apologize. In the paperwork he handed out on Tuesday, he has a schematic of what the room looks like.
Sure.
And even though it's 500 feet and feels small, yes, square feet, there are doors to the bedroom.
Right.
And so it's not like a studio in that way.
Well, yeah, 500 square feet, right? I'm just like I should know this because I did concrete for.
I know you should.
And I don't.
I don't either.
What's the dimensions on a 500 square foot building?
He's asking his phone. We're all in trouble now.
Oh, it didn't tell me.
And so
My dad's so mad at me right now.
the other thing that's really kind of exciting about this place is the way that they're talking about doing it.
Well, it's 10 by 10, right? Is 100 square feet, right? So it'd be 50 by 50,
Okay.
right?
I still have no
That'd be right.
I still have no visual concept of what that means.
My brain is
Okay.
It's not working.
You can put it in the comments later. Is that they're going to be 2 buildings. Well, so currently in the plans that he showed everyone on Tuesday, there are 4 separate buildings.
I remember.
2 stories each.
Correct.
In the middle so every building has 2 sides to it. So there are 4 buildings, 2 stories each with 2 sides. In the middle of each one of those 2 buildings is green space.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so people could hold events there. You could escape what you're saying is a very small apartment and sit out there in the common area.
Yeah.
It'll be covered.
I hope they're pet friendly.
I did not ask that question.
They better be. Right?
You have to have some more for your birds?
I love my birds. Oh my, this is the funniest picture I'll show you. Go ahead.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, an older gentleman at the meeting on Tuesday, I think, said it the best. He said, Bishop has lots of issues. This is not solving all of those issues, but it's a start.
It is a starter. Mochi.
Oh, nice. I like Cheerios too. So there you go.
Hilarious. Oh, yeah.
So
this is a start, right? Well, then we're talking about, just like the future of Bishop, right? It does, like, there's a necessity for housing, obviously. And in every other city, there is that smaller available for housing. You know what I mean? Those smaller options. The beach communities, they all have those little things.
Right.
So that, it just makes sense that moving forward, that would be, part of Bishop's growth.
So
because we don't have a whole lot of places to build.
No,
right?
We totally don't.
And 90, how many of them?
100.
100 even. Okay.
100 even.
25, 20, yeah.
Yep.
50, 50. Okay.
Yep. And, the other piece of that, besides the houses that are currently filled, one of our larger employers in Inyo County currently rents about 10 to 13 buildings, houses
Okay.
in Bishop and the greater Bishop area for their employees.
So those would be freed up if
Correct.
Right.
You know,
In
that's
theory.
in theory.
In theory.
Right. And the other theory that I'm hoping will happen is that you and I both know some of the rental stock in town is not the best. And yet they're still charging very high rents.
I have one of my employees is going through it, with her place. Like they have issues with the septic, they put lipstick on a pig, charge a bunch of money for it.
See, you can say that. I can't say.
Yes, I can. Right. I can say a lot of things that you can't, right? But it's, and I feel so bad for her because like the landlord was like, okay, well, it's time to lock you in basically for your next year lease. Do you want to? And she's was frantically looking for a better place, and most of the options were buying, right? And we'd be buying a mobile because that's on her budget, and then those mobiles are 50 years old.
Well, and several of our mobile home parks in the greater Bishop area actually have as part of their agreement that they will raise the rent of your space.
Right.
That's not a solid answer for a working person.
No, not at all. Right.
Yeah.
Because the mobile is yours, but you're still paying space rent every month. It doesn't matter, as well as, your finance. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you can't finance mobile homes in the same,
That's so true.
right?
Right.
That you can't get a loan, regular loan.
Right. It has to be a block foundation for it to do that.
Correct.
And I don't even know if you could put a block foundation in the permanent, like, because you're
So we talk about dimensions, and I don't know that. And now he's asking me about foundations.
I do know that.
Okay.
I know that, Dad.
And so, so those places that are maybe not the best, in theory, when 100 new places come in that are beautiful and nice and new,
Really cross your fingers. I cannot do that.
distracted, that they will be forced to, in theory, lower rents, improve their rentals, and that kind of thing.
Dude, it needs to happen.
Yeah. So
It so needs to happen.
what is crazy remarkable about this is the timeline they told us about on Tuesday.
Really?
Yes. So, you built things. You know how it takes.
Long time.
So his timeline is this. By this time next year, he'll have all the permits and architectural approvals and everything that is needed to begin.
Okay.
And by this time in 2027, people will be living there.
That is absolutely wonderful to hear.
Isn't it?
And that there's a lot of things that come from that, you know what I mean? And one is jobs.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times, outside contractors get hired and people come up, but still that is
So let me explain that to you.
That's bringing more money, even if those dudes come up and stay. They're occupying our hotels.
Okay, don't go down that road because I have news that's not that.
Fine food
No.
at our stores.
So these are going to be basically prefab from a business in Vallejo and trucked here. They will have all the appliances and all the drywall, all the paint.
Is it going to be like an outside company? Are they going to hire anybody lovely to do anything?
Well, there's the thing. So when they get here, they're going to crane them in place on top of one another. The lady used the word Legos, which I thought was kind of cool. And but the company that builds them doesn't do any of the groundwork.
Okay.
And doesn't do any of the install work that would need to happen. And so yes, there will be local people hired.
And regardless, those people are still coming in.
Right.
You know what I mean? That the company trucking them over here, they're still going to occupy hotels. And I was going to say they're still buying things in Bishop.
Right.
Which matters. That it desperately matters for us.
Yeah.
So
real quick, to go back to those restaurants we were talking about.
Yes.
What I love about it, we heard a lot of things from people. Why fast food? Right? I get it. Although I don't get it because I eat fast food. But but he's not going to build the buildings and leave them.
Right.
He will have someone to be in that building before he built it.
I would love to move my dispensary down there.
Well, I don't know about that. You'd have to call it.
I absolutely love that.
Foothill Developers.
Yeah.
that they won't be sitting empty with a sign in the window.
Right.
They will be occupied
Well,
from the get-go.
Even if it gets like anything chain, like a Panda Express or like a Chipotle or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that's still better options than what we've had here for.
Well, it's more options,
Yes.
right? We have some
Not
great,
better. Sorry, guys.
right.
Not better.
We have some great options, but more options is never bad.
Right.
And
Would it specifically be restaurants?
those 3 in the front are restaurants.
Restaurants.
Yes.
Still. Well, like realistically, we have, I don't know if you need to bleep that out when we get into edit. Across the street is going to be something.
It's going to be great.
So you have opportunities like that for other business owners to get a brick and mortar.
And somebody asked him on Tuesday, why can't locals move in there? And his answer was, these 3 places are going to make me $10 million, and I'm going to turn around and use it to build the housing.
Interesting.
And so if there was a local who could do that, great.
Well, no, yeah, right. It's not that they're excluding locals.
No,
it's just that there's gonna be a price tag on it.
They have penciled this out so that they can afford to do what they're saying they want to do.
I mean,
and you can't fault them for that. It's their money.
Planning is everything, right?
So you didn't ask me about the other little piece of this building.
Tell me about the other little piece of this building.
So the small place where Pizza Factory used to be and the yogurt place, that place is still habitable because probation and HHS were in there recently.
And they moved to the prison.
Right. And when they moved in there were some repairs they had to do, some sewage and some other things. And so that building is going to stay. He has to put a new roof on and some other things. And then he's going to look for a large something to go in there.
Oh, radical.
Yeah.
Something.
That's all he said. He said it's not his place to, until his things are signed, he doesn't want to.
All right.
That
could be anything. That could be a retail store. That could be another nice restaurant.
Right.
That could be a couple restaurants.
I'm voting for Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse, right? No, that's
Jimmy T. Yeah, there you go. Although I'll be as big as a house if I eat those rolls with cinnamon butter.
You like it all the time. I see you out here burning calories. Stop.
Not enough. But anyway, so it's just super. It's also super exciting.
Right.
I will say the one thing they did wrong is that they call the guy who's working with them on this called it a living shed. Right. And so people are all like, it's going to be ugly and it's going to this and it's going to that.
Anything brand new is dope.
Well, and not just that, but he's just
21st century.
They're bringing these 2 things in. And then the way he described it was they're going to put a skin on it.
Okay.
And what I heard at that meeting that I didn't know is that that's exactly how the apartments on Willow were built. They just craned them in.
Sure.
And they look like perfectly lovely buildings.
Yes, they do. Right. The low income housing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and even like I don't know what the square footage on those are, but I'm sure it's really close to the same.
I have no idea.
You know what I mean? So that's all those things.
Well, and that from a city perspective, the wonderful thing about this is that it checks some boxes. So that now we can sort of say, okay, so what's the next step?
Right.
I do want to say one thing about
it is the first step.
It is the first step. I wish that the city worked the way that people online think it does. Right?
Bureaucracy, bro.
No, it's not bureaucracy. It's they're like, why can't they bring in this and why can't they bring in that?
Okay.
This is not our money we're playing with.
Right.
This is not, the city is responsible for fire and pool and park and rec and police, right? We are not we have no money in this.
Right.
And without us putting money in, we can't really tell them what to do.
Right.
We can make sure they follow the codes and our color schemes and do the best we can to push them in a way that we think is the best.
Speaking of the fuzz.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
It looks like they got new vehicles.
They did get new vehicles.
I'm very happy for them.
Are you? Okay.
I really am. Like I love our police. I think they do a really good job at trying to normalize being police, right?
Yeah.
They really, like all the ones that I know, they're just trying to do their job. It's not like they're out, with an agenda. Like growing up in the 80s and 90s in Bishop, right?
There was an agenda? Is that what you're saying? I wouldn't know.
One time,
Yes.
I was arrested.
Okay.
And like,
You want to share this?
it's totally fine. And dude, I'll bring up everything. And this will go on another podcast. I've been slandered lately because of Butthurt Owens Valley.
I heard there was something about that.
Right. And it was just like, oh, he got arrested for this and he got fired from there. And like, dude, I didn't do, like, I've been arrested a lot, man. Did I get arrested and did I do jail time? Yes, absolutely. Right. And we'll get into that on a solo podcast. But we were at a party. We all got arrested. It was the crew that we all hung out with, and they had like pictures and diagrams and like he had strings and like who was the leader and the other crew in town. And it was like they were like after us, like we were actual criminals. When the only thing we were doing was like basically partying. We would go. We were underage. Some of us were. We would have booze. We might have some weed, you know, and just like do kid things. But like you would ride your bike on the sidewalk and get a ticket. Remember me or Molly and Officer Cox in the station wagon? He would pursue.
I can say I grew up in Davis, where bicycles are everywhere.
Come here.
I came here in 1993.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and so it annoys me when people ride their bicycles on the side.
That's not the nicest thing to do.
Because you can ride in the street. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, they took away a lot of the bicycle lane with this.
Yeah.
Whole
I moved. They still had parking on Main Street when I got here.
Yeah, and that. I mean, just going on an absolute circle of tangent and conversation. That is definitely when the tourism kind of stopped downtown. Well, you can't park in front of a building.
Which is one of the reasons we are doing a parking study to make sure that.
Can you speak on anything that's going on with the parking lot right there?
Behind
on Whitney Alley?
Yeah. So we had originally had some money for that. There's everything as it gets more expensive, then there's less. We had initially planned on having a pocket park here. But the community didn't want it.
Right.
They didn't want to take those 4 parking spaces away. They were worried about the idea that people would just hang out there, that maybe they didn't want to be hanging out there. And so we've scaled that project back.
Who is that? That's definitely that.
Yeah. Right. So we scaled that project back, and there will be some trees and some other things, but it's not going to be what initially we had planned on it be.
Is it moving back into like resurfacing actually Whitney, that parking lot in Whitney?
Yeah. And
any improvements, just like little trees, shrubbery, stuff like that?
It's not nearly as exciting as it was initially.
People are the worst.
No, people have a right to their opinion.
Well, it's just because what goes on in the park, right? We do have a small amount of transients here, and like there's, they're not mentally sound people, so they act irrationally. I seen like on this right here on Church Street, that bench. Like the dude just geetered out, just rolling a bowl full meth, and
yeah,
so if you create more spaces, right? I see the thought process.
I do too.
If you, and especially right downtown, across the street from the theater and the yogurt shop, where tourists are coming
to see. I get it. So there's no arguing.
What's that? It's a good that is moving forward, and that is going to be, revamped and look a little bit better, because it's not the best. It's been like that since I was a kid.
And then the other thing that's happening, and again, at bureaucracy timeframes, is the bridge over the canal on Line Street is going to be replaced.
About that with Jose, just because of the potential for. I don't know if he said yes or no, but in my mind, it's the potential for heavier traffic going to our larger expanding airport.
Correct. I think that's one of the reasons. The bridge itself is not, it's old. That's a good way to put it. It's perfectly sound. Nobody's going to fall through it, but it's old.
I found 2 Bishop Coca-Cola bottom stamp bottles under there when I was a kid.
Really?
There was the clear side, because we always floated the canal. And there was the clear side, and there was a mossy side.
Oh.
And I got crazy.
And went on the mossy side?
I went on the mossy side, and then I was looking, and I seen something shining, so I jumped back in and went back under, and I, swatted at it, and it just said Bishop, California. Had no idea what it was. Grabbed one, another one rolled out, and I still have those Coke bottles.
Nice.
And that was, at some point in time, there was a bottling plant down that way, right?
I don't know. That's before my time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, and I hope I'm not telling tales out of school here, but I'm pretty sure Gillespie Distributing was an actual Coca-Cola bottling plant.
Yeah, I got nothing. You're gonna have to ask someone.
You're the mayor.
Longer. I'm sorry.
How do you not the mayor?
I am more than willing to tell that I don't know things. Don't have that kind of ego attached.
So this is your actual second term. You had a term of mayor
4 years,
and then
I had a term as a council member.
Okay.
And during those 4 years, as we rotated, I didn't get a turn.
Okay.
Because there were 5 of us. So now I have a turn to be mayor.
Okay.
It just lasts for a year, and then
Okay, so that's the question, right? Your council term is 4 years, but you as mayor is 1 year.
One.
How do you accomplish anything in 1 year?
well, I'll just say that we as a council work on things together. Right. Well, and even if we're not like-minded, the goal is always what's going to be the best for the city, whether we agree or disagree on it.
Sure.
And the mayor really, I sign more things. I run the meetings, right? I do things like this.
You do. That's really good for you because that's where you do excel is like taking control.
Take it. Is he saying I'm bossy, Jimmy? I mean, I've heard it.
Put words in my
I've heard it before. It's not a shock.
Do not put words in my
But yeah, so it's not like all of a sudden I gain all of this power.
Right.
Because there are cities,
Monty Burns.
yeah, there are cities who have mayor-run
You're right.
councils. We are not that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so yeah, so I get the fun of doing this stuff, and maybe I'll get to pull the tickets for the Destruction Derby this year, like Jose did last year.
Or maybe you get well, no, that won't happen. If they start breaking ground, maybe you could do a scissor at the
I have been teasing our city administrator, Destin Deshawn, that we need to have some sort of demolition party.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
100%.
If I could figure out,
I would love to have Destin on.
well, you have to ask him.
I'm going to.
Yeah, no, so you know how they always have silly elected officials breaking ground with shovels? I think we need to have a demolition party.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if I could figure out a really good charity, we could charge people for Sledgehammer and let them have one hit. Wouldn't that be fun?
Donation. Let's not say charge. Just say if you want to donate
to this charity. But anyway, we haven't come up with any of that.
And even if it's time, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I do.
But he is talking about a wrecking ball.
Oh, Lord, please.
Is that not so
That
exciting?
would be super fun.
Oh, yeah.
So moving from city council to mayor,
Okay.
what is the biggest challenge that you faced? Because I know you all guys as a community group, right, face challenges regularly.
Right.
Is there anything more challenging now that you have become mayor?
Not really. I don't think. I'm kind of casual. I'm just me all the time. Whether I'm sitting here or in charge of the meeting.
You're very, very genuine.
And so, I don't find any real challenges that way, that I just genuinely enjoy what I do. It's fun. I wouldn't have run again if I didn't think that there wasn't, that I was like, oh my God, I had to go to another meeting. I like the process of talking about things and figuring out how to get stuff done. And yeah, I think for me, the most uncomfortable thing, and it hasn't happened yet, is, if someone angry comes to public comments, it's a 3-minute time period, and I'm in charge of shutting them down, which is not my thing.
Just the old shepherd's hook, like on the
right. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, thankfully it hasn't happened yet, but that probably will be my most uncomfortable moment.
Yeah, I
But
can see that.
One of the first things I did when I became mayor was I sent all the department heads an email that said, I grew up in the 70s and I called all of my teachers by their first names.
Okay.
And so I'm going to be bad at when I call on you using your whole title.
Oh, sure.
I'm going to be bad at it.
Sure.
Please don't take it as disrespect. Right?
Right. And there is that in the political side of things, right?
Right.
There is that dance that you have to
Correct.
follow.
And so none of them were like, we don't really care, Karen. It's fine. But I wanted them to be sure that this wasn't me disrespecting them. This was me. I just am. My 4th grade teacher's name was Valerie. My 3rd grade teacher's name was Steve. That's what we called them because that's the 70s.
That was that era
Yeah.
of things. It wasn't Mr. and Mrs.
No,
Yeah.
it was not.
And we went from Mr. and Mrs. here at Bishop Junior High School, and then after I got expelled, I'm airing everything out like it.
Woo! Just throw it all out there.
In Harvard on the Hill down there at Palisade Glacier, everybody was first name.
Yeah.
Except for Miss Nelson. She was the English teacher.
Yeah.
She was Miss Nelson.
I think what's interesting high school wise now is that everyone calls the ladies Miss.
Oh.
which is great for me being old. It's better than ma'am. But yeah, they'll say, "Hey, miss, how is, can I do this?" Or, "Hey, miss, can I go to the bathroom?" It's super polite and nice. I like it a lot.
That's one of the best things about Bishop kids is there was a couple of generations of just kind of laziness, you know what I mean? And like unparenting because kids have kids and then they're not really getting raised in a nuclear family. I've talked about it quite a bit, but the respect that is coming back, self-chosen respect for others, right? In the kids who are coming through middle school, getting into high school and becoming of themselves, it's always a very neat thing to watch because I didn't work for the school. I didn't get fired from there. I quit. Um, the it's really neat to see those kids grow, you know what I mean, and choose respect for others.
Yeah.
And I think that have a lot. They don't all have it, but a lot of them do, and I really appreciate that just being a Bishop thing.
Yeah, I love my other job, but that pays me a salary. Makes me be able to do this other stuff.
Right, right. And what is your title over there?
My title is program coordinator for prevention and intervention
And that is for the
in your county office of education.
and you'll kind of when that's the Jill Kmart Booth School.
That's where my desk is located. Yes, but I work at all the school sites.
I'll go. Right, because you guys are fully encompassed.
Correct.
Right. How far do you go south?
I'll go to Death Valley. I'll go to Pine, all the schools.
Right. And then, I mean, Inyo County ends right here, so we don't really have nothing.
Right. But Round Valley.
Round Valley, yeah. Round Valley is, we're in there.
So the Office of Ed covers all the school sites and provides services for them, either teacher in services or, those sorts of things. And then I just do direct services with students for the most part.
So is there anything other than the two kind of small things we touched on, one being the Whitney Alley, one major thing, 100 500 square foot homes. Woo! Right? I think I'm getting more and more.
You're getting more.
Just because, with you saying that Willow Street was erected in the same way, right? Those are, I mean, I've been inside of them. They're nice. They're nice. And anything new is going to be nice. It's the 21st century.
In this packet, which I forgot to bring you, it shows pictures of what the insides would look like. These are not, these are high-end looking things.
I think I can, will that be available? Can we go grab that after this? And then I can get it to these guys so we can get it on. Yeah, because this is going to drop tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I can get it.
Even if you email it to me or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even if I take pictures of it and send it to you that way.
Well, we're coming up on an hour here, and I just kind of right. I just kind of want to. We're doing this interview backwards.
Okay.
Now we know all of that about what's going on in Bishop.
Okay.
You came here in 1993.
Why?
Why?
So, my children's father, got a job with the district attorney's office.
Oh, okay.
That he still works at.
Dope.
And so we came. I had never been here before. He had never been here before. We knew nothing about anything. In fact, the way that we got here was that he got an internship after law school in Mammoth. And it just so happened that a job came available here when we were in Mammoth.
Oh, wow. When did you think, what was your initial impression of Bishop in the 90s?
I think it was hard. It was hard for me in the first little bit because everyone, a lot of people stay, especially back then, that everyone already had their friend groups. Right?
How did you become friends with sister?
We weren't friends. We weren't friends until recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Even back in the day, after I became single and we'd be at the same places together, we didn't know each other at all. I knew you before her.
You guys are very much alike. I'm glad that you guys found each other.
We do good. And the things that I do good, that she's not so great at, and vice versa. So, yeah. That's why we came. And then when the divorce happened, I couldn't move my children.
How did you get into politics?
That's a funny story. So, when I first got divorced, I went and worked for Perry Motors as a secretary in the front office.
Sure.
And it wasn't the funnest job. Didn't stretch me intellectually.
Sure.
And so there was an ad in the newspaper that said, outgoing, energetic person wanted, must be able to lift 50 pounds. That's all it said. I'm like, that's me. I was 30 at the time.
Okay.
And it happened to be a job at Westar, the cable company.
Oh, sure. So you got to know.
Also, yeah. So for 4 years, I did the news over there.
Yes.
And one of my jobs in the news was to do city council meetings.
Sure.
And so I watched a lot of meetings and heard a lot of things. And then as I moved past that into other jobs, I went before them a lot for things. I worked at Wild Iris for 4 years and went before them and talked about things a lot. And then I worked for the county for 11 years and was there all the time. And
Just kind of brought you into it.
Yeah.
Ideas kicking around your head.
Yeah.
Obviously that you're not able to get out.
And I talked about it for a lot of years.
Sure.
Running.
Sure.
And I think it was 2020. I thought maybe no one else will run. Because that was my fear. I was like, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to lose and I'm going to feel bad about myself. And who cares that? I know, but
You're an awesome person, girl. All those things are super.
well, I'm a person with flaws like everybody else.
And me too. We all have flaws, but you are indeed an awesome person. And
I work hard.
I'm glad that you are on city council because it's minds like ours. And no offense to the old council members, but youthful ideas need to be present. Youthful, well, like the good.
I'm not sure youthful is the right answer.
Tip is well known for having a old world thought, good old boy system, right?
Correct.
Like the whole things that went on through the law enforcement, good old boy this, good old boy that, and now it's all, it's becoming more open. You know what I mean? It's becoming there's so many people coming in that good old boy system, and with advancements in just like technology and accountability in that technology, they're no longer to kind of be that way.
And I just have to say, I love those old guys.
Yeah, me too.
One of my favorite first years, it was Frank Chrome and Smiley Connolly and John Young.
Sure.
And I would be standing behind the camera and just before they flipped the switch to make it go live, they'd be like, okay, Karen, we're ready. And they'd flip the switch. And then inevitably every single stinking meeting, one of them would be like, hey, Karen, you married yet? Every time. Love those guys.
Right. But that's inappropriate.
I'm a big girl.
I know you're a big.
If I think something inappropriate, I will say it out loud and you will not.
I like that.
Yeah.
So if you have one goal to accomplish as mayor in your 1-year term, what is the goal that you have focused on and want to see come to fruition?
It's frankly hard to think of a new goal because Kmart has been
the goal
for it was one of the things I ran on in 2020.
Sure.
Was the idea that we got to figure out this huge problem. I worked at Kmart when I first moved here. So, it's been a huge.
You want to go destroy that place. You're like, give me that record.
Boy, I liked my Kmart, actually. It was fun. But
there's a lot of people that friends of mine that were just like, yeah, I worked at Kmart.
Yeah.
A ton. And it employed a lot to people.
Yeah, it was a nice place to have when we had it. Anyway, so I don't know that I have a goal in that way. I just want to provide, and I don't mean to sound like a politician, but fiscally responsible services for people, right? So one of the things I've been working on over the summer and into the fall was this year we're gonna offer more hours that the pool's open and more opportunities for people to swim in the evening and
it's a big part of your
a bunch of other things.
Right.
Well, pools are not money makers, I'll just say, but
maintenance employees, blah blah. Yeah.
Correct. But we have this great resource, and why are we not utilizing it to its full extent? And so I worked really hard on that over the summer, and we're getting there. So, the idea that things are happening is good, and I like to think of myself as being ready when they come.
So the chain of command, not chain of command, right? But like how things work, because you have the Bishop City, Destin, right? The city administrator.
Right.
And the city council.
Right.
And you guys have to mesh together.
Correct.
And they share like the projects. Who comes up? There's rumors floating about that there's going to be an expansion of the skate park and the dirt track, correct?
Okay. So there is some work. The county venue gave us some money to build some more soccer fields.
Okay.
And so the dirt track, when we approved it, was as a pilot program to see if it would work.
Okay.
And all those people did so much work. That group, those two kids from high school who suggested it in the first place, they did tons of work. And And so there is going to have to be a little shifting, but the bike park, the dirt park is really going to continue to evolve.
Right, because it can flow all the way down almost to North Second and all the way to
Correct.
Cranby's,
There's
right?
a lot of room.
There's a lot of room. And soccer, I mean, how many soccer fields can you put on uneven ground?
Yeah, so we're working on those pieces, but the county has said, we need to kick in. We can't act like the city park is not where everything happens.
Yeah, no, right. That's where we have 4th of July now.
Right, totally.
It's huge.
Yeah. So,
and I'm so glad we have it. No offense to the airport and all the great times we had out there, but having it local in the city limits, you know what I mean? And having those fireworks go off basically above your head.
Yeah.
Is pretty gosh. And the fire control was a lot, Remember well, you weren't here. They used to do fire bombs out at the airport, and every couple of years they'd let off that diesel and ammonia firebomb, and it would shred up, and that thing would catch on.
well, I have to say, I grew up in a city that fireworks were illegal, and so when I first moved here,
Legal here, yeah.
when I first moved here, it was quite shocking to me, the airport. Little kids with
So there was no fireworks show in your city.
no, we had a fireworks show.
Okay.
But you couldn't, as people, you
the
buy fireworks.
Safe and Saints.
Correct. No, you couldn't even buy those.
Wow.
Nothing. Sparklers. That was it. Right?
Snakes and sparklers.
Yeah. And so, so when I moved here and took my little kids to the airport for the first time, and and there are kids in their swimsuits and their bare feet with a butane torch, I was like, where have I moved to? No, I love that we're in the city park now because I feel like it's safer for those things.
Sure.
I know I'm kind of an old prude that way.
Oh no, it's I mean, safety for your children, right?
Yep.
It's foreign to you. You know what I mean? It'd be like if we were to go out and I would to teach them how to hunt.
Yeah.
Right? You would be like, that's a gun, and guns are scary because like, right? So it's the same. Like you're
This was a totally new mindset.
right. You're just
Yeah.
mama bear.
For a lot of people, actually, I'm mama bear for a lot of people.
Mama bear. So how do you feel about this?
It's great. I mean, conversations are easy.
They're super easy. We're coming right up on the hour. I want to keep it a little bit short of that hour. Do you have any questions for me? Do you have any comments? Do you have any statements?
Where does it go up?
That's a really good question.
I didn't mean a complicated question.
This is the first one. It's going to be released on YouTube, and then it should be available on Spotify. It should be available on Google Play and all those other ones. But it will go to Laughing Parrot's YouTube, where all the rest of the stuff is released.
Right.
And it will be up. Fingers crossed. Cross your fingers again, because I can't do that.
Why can't you do that? Look at it.
I don't know. I don't know. That's. I love you so much. It will be. It's gonna be about. I'll post a link on Facebook. So one thing that I'm gonna bring in, that should be pretty fun, is everybody is gonna open a pack of something. I like trading cards.
Okay.
In my hand is a Star Wars trading set from 1980.
Oh, I can't.
Sealed.
No.
Trust me, I have looked into it. I know what I'm doing. There is no card in here that is going to be worth more than the pack sealed. It's an even trade. This is from 1980.
Well, you have to realize that I can't accept gifts as a public official.
You're not getting anything. You're just going to open it.
I'm just going to open it for you.
Right.
Perfect.
This is all that's.
I'm good at opening things.
You can't take it. This is not yours.
Good. I don't like it.
But that's been sealed.
That's
been sealed.
Are you sure?
It's been sealed since 1980. Let's see what we get.
You're scaring me here. Okay. Yeah, there's a really stale piece of gum, I imagine. No gum. Okay. Story digest.
So flip it around.
Oh,
there we go.
Okay.
So who do we have here?
We've got the lovely Han Solo.
Go ahead and show it to you. Camera.
Oh, there we go.
Han
Solo. Snow Troopers.
Okay, nothing crazy yet.
Search for Luke.
Nothing crazy yet.
Yoda.
Yoda's getting there.
Load. Okay. He's very excited about that. I don't know what that means.
Retreat.
Okay. We have Chewie.
Okay.
Something called His Day of Triumph.
That's a good one.
Okay, good. This one looks like little stickers you can peel off.
Yes.
All right.
Aid.
Destroying.
Oh yeah. The probot.
We have an upside down Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, use the Force, Luke. That's a nice one.
Emergency blast.
Okay, nothing too crazy.
Luke's fight for life. I don't even remember that.
That's crazy. That was when after he got his arm chopped off, I believe.
And Han Solo.
Oh, and Carbonite.
Yeah. So I will say, and you can cut this out, but as a teenage girl, I was so upset that this is how they left it. Because it's not like now where sequels come out 2 years later. It was like a huge process.
Yeah.
I boycotted the third one because I was so upset about that.
Oh, but he came back. Little did you know he made a comeback.
I know.
Yes. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure, Miss Karen Pollard.
Oh.
Thank you so much for being the first episode of
Glad.
Chasing Laughter.
Okay, Chasing Laughter. I think we laughed a little.
Well, we gave a little bit.
Okay.
And this is, it's going to be an interview-based podcast. I want to have anybody who wants to come on, whether what their role is in the community or not. And like in life, I chase laughter. Naming a podcast is hard.
I imagine.
Right? Yeah. So everything that I was like, oh, let's call it that. I would podcast already there. Right?
Yeah.
And so in like thinking, I always am in a way chasing laughter. I think we all are in a way chasing laughter.
Well, we should be.
You know what I mean?
Even if we don't think we are.
Right. Because fun is funny and fun.
And to answer your question, Destin and City Council work hand in hand.
Yes.
Destin is in charge of personnel.
Right.
We have no personnel authority at all. So if something goes wrong with an employee, we don't even know about it. I mean, he'll say something's wrong with an employee, but we don't have any of those details at all. And amongst the city council, we are technically really not allowed to talk to one another about things that are on the agenda because it violates the Brown Act.
Sure.
Well, I can talk to one, but not the others.
Thank you for bringing that all the way around.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. That's why I need people like you on here because I'm like, oh, look, it's a squirrel.
Squirrel. Good stuff.
Karen, thank you so much.
No
We're going to
problem.
make a wrap. And yeah, we're done.
All right. How'd we do? Jimmy? Yeah?